I'm here to talk about Lee Cronin's The Mummy. This is a new installment of The Mummy, directed by Lee Cronin. He is the director that brought you Evil Dead Rise, which I think was a pretty good film. It is really refreshing, it is really bloody, yeah. And so when I heard that he was directing a new Mummy film, I was really excited. Even though I didn't know much about the plot of this film, what the plot would be like, I was really excited, when I found out that he was directing a new Mummy film. And so I checked it, and this film is pretty much a standalone story set in the Mummy universe. Well, not even really set in the world, but it has something to do with mummification and infections, alright, and curses, something like that. And it tells a story about a family that lose their daughter, alright. The daughter suddenly disappears out of thin air, and 8 years have passed. Now she is found buried, mummified mysteriously inside a sarcophagus, and the family wants to know what's going on with her. And from the first moment that you meet this girl, it's really apparent what they're trying to do here. They're trying to push the grotesque aspect of the Mummy, because I'm telling you, this is one of the most disgusting mummy that I have ever seen in any Mummy movies, alright? And it has a lot of things to do with the practical makeup, and it's really outstanding if you see the makeup process and the practicality of it all. What I like about that is that as the movie goes on, her condition worsens, alright? So by the end, when you reach the end of the movie, she is really completely unhinged, and she has some mystical powers, and she looks terrifying as hell. That is something that I really like about the approach of the mummification process in this film. It treats itself as an infectious disease, alright, more than anything else, and it pushes towards the gore rather than the scare, alright. Even though it has a lot of scary moments, that's not the point, because there are some scenes that will blow your mind, that will disgust you, alright. Me myself, I'm even kind of very much disgusted when I see a specific scene involving nail trimming process that was really grotesque, bloody, and man, I don't want to see that again. And that's the point, So the second aspect that I really like about this film is also the family dynamic. From the first scene of this film, they're clearly building up towards that family dynamic and how strong they are as a family. This, however, changes when the midpoint of the movie happens. This is an argument scene between the husband and the wife. The husband thinks that the daughter may need some help, some extraordinary help to help her out, to help her recover from this disease. And if necessary, he is really determined to move her out of the house temporarily. But the mother thinks otherwise. This is kind of an ideological conflict between the two, and I really like it until they start making dumb-ass decisions. Because the second act and the third act of the film really is full of dumb-ass decisions made by the father, the mother, and the grandma. Man, the grandma was super annoying in this film. Yeah, she is religious, she is superstitious even, but her character here doesn't have a clear purpose of existing, alright? And in the midpoint of the film, she dies, and it's really a grotesque scene to look at, and it is one of the most memorable scenes of the film for sure, yeah. And then there's a family gathering because the grandma is dead now, and in the family gathering scene, something really important could have happened. Why did I say that? It could have been the perfect climax of the film, right? Because everything is set up there. Everybody now, like the little sister, the sister, and the brother are now infected by this curse. And if you made that scene the climax, I think it would have been more impactful. But the movie chose to go on and on and on and on. The film is really exposition heavy. It is literally exposition dumping on the audience. It explains everything and it dilutes the mystery aspect of the film. It constantly decreases the mystery aspect of the film, which is kind of a letdown for me because I think the most intriguing things about Mummy is, of course, the mystery. You don't have to explain everything, alright? Just let the audiences guess. But this film didn't do that. It explains everything towards the climax. And not to say that the climax is exciting or anything. It is not really that exciting. It is predictable and full of dumb choices. For instance, the father is about to get tackled by this daughter, the mummy, right? And she is now fully infected, and she has a mystical power, alright? Instead of doing anything useful, he just stands there and waits for him to get tackled by her and get infected by her. Why? Because he wants to sacrifice himself. Man, I'm tired of the trope of a family man sacrificing himself in a movie, because I think if the movie would have ended another way, it could have really made sense. So the father didn't have to sacrifice himself and transfer the curse to him. So yeah, Lee Cronin's The Mummy, story-wise, plot-wise, it could have been better, and it could have been better paced. Because the first act of this film is full of setups, it is full of family dynamics, which is fine, but it drags for quite a long time. Alright? And the ending, man, the ending is really disappointing for me because it is too predictable, and I'm sick of the trope of the family man sacrificing himself for the mortality of his daughter. Please, just don't do that. Alright? So yeah, Lee Cronin's The Mummy definitely had some scary moments. It leans towards the gore rather than the scary, which is fine, but I feel like there is something better. It could have been way better if the plot had been reworked or the sacrifice didn't happen. Also, this film is 2 hours and 15 minutes. It could have been shorter, 2 hours or 1 hour and 50 minutes. It would have been okay. It could have ended in the specific family gathering scene. Just make that into the climax and it's alright, Just leave with a bang. But instead of doing that, this film really goes on and on and on for exposition dumping. So yes, I will give Lee Cronin's The Mummy a 7 out of 10. This is a decent standalone horror film, which if it wasn't titled The Mummy, not everybody would know that this is in fact a mummy film. And the best performance of this film was given by the girl who plays the mummy, the daughter. I thought she was terrific in the film. She really wants to scare you, and her makeup is really terrifying. Alright, it is really practical, and when you see her, you're kind of disgusted by her, scared by her, and that's the point. So I will give Lee Cronin's The Mummy a 7 out of 10. This is a decent standalone story that could have been better paced, and it could have had better stories if it wasn't full of expositions. you have seen The Mummy, Lee Cronin's The Mummy. What do you think about it? And how does it compare to his previous film, Evil Dead Rise? Which one is better? Tell me everything in the comment section down below. And see you on the next video.